Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. So on today's video we're going to learn how to draft this corporate palazzo pants. If that sounds like something you're interested in learning, keep on watching and let's get right into the video. So the measurements you're going to need for this pant is your waist measurement, your hip measurement, your crotch depth, and then the length of your pants. Now we're going to start fixing in our body measurements from this line here. I'm going to take out 1.5 inch for our waistband, so our measurement is going to start after the 1.5 inch. So I'm going to place the tape, and now I'm going to mark my hip line, which is 10 inches. I'm marking that across, and I'm going to rule a straight line. After marking our hip line, I'm going to go ahead to mark my crotch depth. And I showed you a diagram earlier of how to get your crotch depth, so you have to sit down and take the measurements properly. So I'm marking down my crotch depth line, and then I'm going to rule a straight line as well. Next, I'm marking my waist to knee line measurements, so I'm going to go ahead to mark that out and rule a straight line across. After drawing out all the lines, I'm just going to label them so you know what each line represents. I also marked the full length of our palazzo pants, which was for me 43 inches. You want to make sure that your full length is going to cover your legs. Now we're going to start on our hip line. I'm going to mark my hip measurement divided by 4 plus half an inch for ease. So that's going to give me 10.75. So I'm going to mark that on the hip line. Now I'm taking that 10.75 measurement down to the crotch line as well as to the hip to the waist line, and then we're going to rule the lines to meet each other. After ruling this out, we're moving back to the waistline, and we're going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4, and for me that is 7.75. After marking our waist measurement, we're going to use our curve to curve this down to our hip line. Next, at the crotch line, we're going to come out for our crotch extension, and I'm going to mark 2.5 inches at that point, and then we're using one inch at this point here, just coming out to help curve out the crotch line. So I'm just curving out the crotch line now, and this is what we have. So to eliminate bulging at the front part of our pants, I'm going to come out by half an inch on this point, and then we're going to rule it back into our measurements. So now I'm cancelling out this part because we're no longer working with that part. This is what we have, but because we took out half inch on that part, we want to return the half inch back on this other side. So that is what I'm doing. I'm just replacing the half inch I took out at the front area. Okay, after that we're going to take note of the measurement we have at our crotch line here, and what I have was about 13.5 inches. I'm going to take that measurement down to my knee line, and I'm going to mark it out. Next, I'm going to divide that 13.5 inches we took out. We're going to divide it into 2, and whatever we have, we're going to mark it out just to determine the midpoint from the crotch line down to the full length of our pants. So I'm just marking this all the way down, and then we're going to rule a straight line. So this straight line we're marking at the middle here is going to serve as the middle of our pants, so we can evenly distribute our measurements on both sides. Now at the waistline here, I forgot to come down by half an inch, and I'm just coming down by that half an inch, and we're rolling out the line. So that is going to be our new waistline. I'm going to go ahead to cancel out these lines because we are no longer working with that line. Now at the bottom part here, I'm also going to mark 13.5 inches, the same way we did for the knee line. After marking that out, we're also going to mark the midpoint and extend that line we made all the way down. After rolling out the line, I'm going to decide how wide I want my palazzo pants to be. For me, I like my pants really wide. You can do yours small depending on what you like. And for me, I'm going to work with 13 inches for the front. Now I'm going to take 13 inches and divide it by 2. Whatever I have there, I am going to mark it on both sides of our pants. So I'm marking this on this part, and I'm also doing the same thing on the opposite side. I'm also going to repeat the same process at the knee line, and then we're going to rule the lines upwards, connecting it to our crotch line. After ruling out all the lines, I'm just connecting the knee line to the crotch line at this point here. So that is all for the front pattern. We're going to go ahead to cut this out and use this to cut the back pattern. After cutting out the front pattern, I used the front pattern to tape down on a fresh piece of pattern paper. And now what we're going to do is, at this waistline area here, you can see that I did not cut out the half inch I took out. That is because I'm going to draft the back first before cutting that out. So at that point, I'm coming up by 1.5 inches. So I'm marking 1.5 inches because you want your butt to relax very well and accommodate it without showing at the top area, and that is why we're coming up by 1.5 inches. And that 1.5 inches varies depending on the size of the person you're working on. Now I'm coming in at this point and I'm marking 1.5 inches inwards, so you can see that I marked that out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rule a straight line all the way up at that point. After ruling out the straight line, I'm also going to rule another straight line at the other point inwards, the way you see me doing. Next, I'm going to come out at the waist area here by 1.5 inch as well. So now from that point we made, we're going to rule this all the way up to meet the 1.5 inch we went up by in a slanted motion. You want to make sure you're slanting your ruler when doing this. And now we're going to rule this out. Now on my hip area, I'm going to come out by half an inch, and I'm going to mark that out. I'm going to continue with that half an inch all the way down, and after marking out half an inch all the way down, we're going to connect that from that 1.5 inch mark we made at the waist. We're going to connect it, joining the half inches we marked out at the bottom area all together. Next, on the crotch line, I'm going to come out by 2 inches. This is for our butt to sit in very well. So this is going to differ depending on the size of the person. Like I said, you can go down and make yours 1.5 inch, 2 inches, or even 2.5 inches if you're working on a bigger person. Now I'm marking that out slantedly. I'm marking that in a slanted form. I hope you understand. And then I'm going to rule a straight line. You can see that the line is not totally straight, it's bent kind of. So that is what you want to have at that point. Now I'm just tracing out what we have on the front piece down on our back piece, as you can see right now. So we've already added our 1.5-inch allowance at the inner part, so we're not going to have any allowance here anymore because we are not going to have zipper at the back. Now I'm going to, from my crotch line there, rule this all the way to my knee line. But first of all, I'm marking the same 1/2 inch I took on the opposite side of our back pattern, and then I'm just ruling from my crotch line down to the knee line, and then I'm going to continue with that 1/2 inch all the way to the bottom, and then rule the lines to connect with each other. After tracing out everything on our back pattern, I'm going to take out the front pattern, and then we're going to finish up the back pattern drafting. So guys, after drafting, this is what our back pattern is looking like, and you can see at this 1.5-inch mark I made, I'm just creating dotted lines. That part is just going to serve as allowance for the butt. We're not using that because, like I said, we're not having our zipper at the back but at the front of our pants. Now I'm going to go ahead to cut out the pattern for the back as well. Now we're going to go ahead to cut out the pocket for the pants, but before that I'm going to cut out the 1/2 inch I went down by at this point. So I'm just trimming that out. Now for my pocket, I'm going to mark at the waist area, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to go down by 6.5 inches. You can make yours a standard of 7 inches, but I just preferred to make mine 6.5 inches. After marking that out, I'm going to rule a straight line at that point. After ruling out the line, I'm going to go ahead to fold in that part we just marked out. You're not going to cut it out yet, you're just going to fold it out. Now I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to bring in a fresh piece of pattern paper to cut out the pocket. So I have my pocket here on fold, and I'm going to mark 7 inches. So this is what we already have, 7 inches. Then for the depth, I'm going to mark 10 inches. You can use a standard of 12 inches, but I do not like my pocket to be too deep, so I'm making mine 10 inches and I'm marking that across. And now I'm going to rule a straight line. After ruling that out, we're going to cut out the pocket. So this is what the pocket piece is looking like. I'm going to bring back the front piece, and then we're going to place this on top of our pocket. You can see the way I did it. The part on fold is going to be on the inside, while the part that has the opening is going to be on the outside. You can see that I went ahead to switch that. Now we're going to place this at the sides like this, and then I'm going to go ahead to cut the front piece of the pocket You can see that there's two pieces there. I'm cutting out the front piece, so I'm just going to raise that piece up and then we're going to cut it out. After cutting that part out, we're going to bring out the part we went ahead to fold in. So you can see that I went ahead to bring it out, and now we're going to follow the markings there, and then we're going to cut the other line to meet with the line we have at the top there. So after cutting this out, then you can go ahead to cut out that piece because we're no longer going to use that. So I'm going to go ahead to cut it out. So this is our pocket. This is what we have. You can either choose to leave it straight like this, or you can curve it at the sides. Now I'm bringing in another pattern paper again, and we're going to draft the zipper fly for our pants. So I'm just going to mark out 2 inches. The width is going to be 2 inches. You can work with 2.5 if you want yours to be a bit wider, but I'm going to work with 2 inches, and then I'm going to come down by 7 inches. Now I'm going to rule the lines out at the bottom as well as at the top. We're going to rule a straight line down. After rolling this out, I'm just going to curve the bottom part. So we're going to create a curve at the sides here. After creating that curve, we're going to cut this out. So this is what it looks like. Now we're going to move on to start cutting on our fabric. So guys, this is the fabric we're working with. This is crepe fabric, and this crepe fabric doesn't have any stretch in either side. So this is what we have, and I'm working with 2 yards of crepe. Now I have my fabric on fold, and we're going to place the front pattern on the fabric. You can see that I went ahead to come up at the bottom part by 1 inch for the folding allowance. So from that 1 inch point, I'm going to go ahead to just pin this down, and I'm going to pin the remaining parts of the pattern down to our fabric, and then we're going to go ahead to cut this out. After pinning our pattern down, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch all around the sides and also at the top for our sewing and joining allowance. So for the back piece, I already went ahead to pin this down, and we also did what we did for the front piece. We went ahead to mark out the joining and sewing allowance all around the 1/2 inch at the top as well as the sides. And at this point here at the crotch area, I also came out by 1/2 inch and then I curved it back into the crotch line. So we also went ahead to add 1 inch at the bottom for the folding allowance. So now I'm just going to cut this out. So guys, for the pocket, I'm going to have the fabric unfold. So we're going to cut the 2 pockets at once. So I'm folding this in 2 and then I'm going to place my pattern on top. After placing the pattern on top, we're going to cut this out, leaving 1/2 inch allowance at the top, the bottom and the sides. So we're going to go ahead to cut this out. After that, I'm going to take out one of this fabric and I'm going to place my pattern on top to adjust the sides, but I saw that the allowance at the side was too much, so I had to take it out and then I folded it again and I placed my pattern paper on top to trim it out before going ahead to work on the fabric. Now I'm going to open up the fabric and then we're going to place our pattern paper back on top. So the side that is going to be sewn to the palazzo itself, the side we have at the side here, we're going to trim it out and leave 1/2 inch for the allowance. Now I'm going to mark out the wrong side of this fabric, which is what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to place it on the other pocket piece, right sides facing each other. I'm also going to mark out the wrong side of the other pocket so we do not get confused on which part sits where. So I'm going to also trim off the other part the same way we did for the first one. Moving on, I'm also going to cut out the fabric for the crotch. So this fabric is actually on fold and I'm just pinning my pattern on top and then we're going to go ahead to cut this out. So we're done cutting out all our fabric pieces and that is it for this tutorial. Stay tuned for the sewing part of this video where I show you how to sew your palazzo, how to fix your zipper fly, as well as how to sew your waistband. If you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful in any way, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye guys.